Hello, hello, hello. Friend Angie Austin here, along with newsmen Chris Barnes and John DeMaster. Let's start with you, Chris, shall we?
Yeah, we're talking about some late. Actually, what are we talking about? Sorry, I was on the wrong page. What are we
You're
talking about
talking about
first?
why gas is so
Oh,
expensive
that's
in the
right. Thank you.
East. Yeah.
See, Angie thinks for me.
You are,
It's
I'm kind of
amazing.
like the wrangler. I'm like the lead wrangler. I try to steer you guys in the right direction to the right pen to be branded.
I like that. Oh, I like to be
Branded.
branded.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway.
No, you don't.
So this is actually a serious story. We were talking about it last hour because it just started to make news, even though it apparently is something that happened last week. A break in a pipeline that brings gasoline to the eastern part of the United States. Well, now it's blamed on, or that's blamed for what's going to be probably a bit of a gasoline shortage, especially in the southeast in coming days. And if you can get gasoline, it's going to be costing a lot more than it's been for a while. And as a result, Georgia's Governor Nathan Deal, which is interesting because coming out of the story last hour, I was mentioning the fact that I hope nobody gouges people and takes advantage of a situation like this. Now, the Georgia Governor Nathan Deal has declared a state of emergency because of this, because he is concerned about the spike in gasoline prices that it's probably going to create. It's already led to apparently to a 7-cent increase in prices just this week from Tuesday to yesterday. And he's
Wow.
afraid it's going to go even higher because they don't expect to get this pipeline repaired until sometime next week at the earliest. So even though it affects the eastern third of the U.S. overall, they say it's going to be the southeast, including Georgia, that's going to get hit by this the hardest.
Okay, John, ITT Tech. We've all heard the ads. Apparently, they're closing. They pulled some shenanigans.
Yeah, the Department of Education barred the school from enrolling new students who depended on federal aid and required the company to warn current students that its accreditation was in jeopardy. So what happens if you were at IT Technical? That's still, I guess, a question that needs to be asked. Do you get any sort of certificate saying you learned anything, or do you have to start from scratch? The way I understand it, you have to start over. Like none of the credits from ITT Tech would transfer to somewhere else. So
Well,
this could be
it's according to the schools because you know what? I don't know if they're just being opportunistic, but I actually have a local or a personal angle to this. My son goes to it's called a Capital Technology University. It's an actual, full-time school. You live on the campus, which is a little different than what ITT was. But they have actually used this as an opportunity to advertise and say, listen, if you're an ITT student, talk to us because we might be able to meet your needs and bring you over here. So that's CTU, by the way, and they're not paying me for this endorsement.
All right, so yet another reason for people to complain. The final day of New York Fashion Week had designer Marc Jacobs and critics splitting hairs. Jacobs had white models wearing fake, like colored dreadlocks. They always do unique things with their hair. And I have to be honest with you, I don't understand, but because they're white, dreadlocks are off limits, like they can't wear fake dreads. I mean, my cousin's wife has dreadlocks. She's white. They don't really look good on her. They're not really, because you have to not wash your hair for a very long time. And
I'd like to see you in dreadlocks, Angie. Next time you go and get your hair done.
Well, Barnes had them. Didn't you have them when you were younger, Chris?
No, I had cornrows.
Oh, okay,
that's
okay.
different.
Well,
I could tell the difference.
Well, they apparently one tweet, for instance, said, "Why didn't Marc Jacobs just hire black models with actual dreads?" It's like we're in such a PC world. Is it okay for him to like just do their hair with these colored dreads? They're fake. It's just kind of a look like a wig. I don't know. I'm so sick of people. Everyone's always getting offended. All right, I'm offended by this one though, Chris. That Clinton campaign might be overcharging the small donors, the people without a lot of money.
Yeah, apparently not just like overcharging, but like fraudulently charging. Apparently, the story goes, according to The Guardian, or no, The Observer, I should say, one of the nation's biggest banks, particularly Wells Fargo, their fraud department has been getting 100 phone calls a day from Clinton donors, small donors, who say they need refunds because they're getting they go and make a small donation to the Clinton campaign, and then they look at their statement and they have like multiple, like it gets like repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. So this is apparently something that not only Wells Fargo is looking into, but it's been reported to the Federal Election Commission, and we'll probably be hearing a little bit more about this in the coming days.
Interesting. Art, what's the best time of the year? I mean, week to start your vacation? Taking a vacation,
Right now.
my husband knows, as an entrepreneur can be really tricky. It never feels right to break away and relax, which he never does, by the way. After a decade of running a company and navigating the guilt that surfaces when taking a break, I have discovered, this guy says, a handful of times when it feels good to break away. And then right after a holiday, like a national holiday, you can take an extra day. Mondays and Tuesdays to kind of extend the weekend.
And Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
When you are needed
on Saturday.
When you are needed the least, and then of course right before a project is kicked off. So just some things to think about if it's hard to get vacation time. And by the way, just take it. In my last job, I saved up all my vacation time, and when they were in sweeps, I'd be like, oh no, I definitely can't take a vacation.
You can't take it.
That wouldn't be right,
By the way, I'm off all next week.
Yeah,
I just decided that now.
Trevino rarely takes vacations. We got to get to a couple of these stories. Hello, self-driving cars. Goodbye, 4.1 million jobs.
Well, this has a lot to do with, the Uber drivers they're in their cars and they're driving right now. If this thing goes automated, they all lose their jobs. But then also talking about the people that put these cars together, that they can't necessarily go from manufacturing the cars to learning how to program these really brilliant cars that can self-drive themselves. So basically the moral of the story, or whatever the story, people can lose their jobs here just because of these self-driving cars. A lot of them.
Okay, real quickly, Google is cracking down on crime from space, Chris.
Yeah, and you'll want to watch out if you illegally fish in an ocean anywhere on the planet, because apparently they're using a new satellite-based surveillance system. It's powered by Google, and it's being publicly unveiled now to apparently keep track of people who are plundering our oceans, as they say.
Okay,
we call them poachers when they're in the woods, but,
Plunderers.
All right, so if you're going to go on a tour of a college outside of Philadelphia, apparently you shouldn't bring your parents to the dorm because the dorms frequently reek of marijuana, and they think it's a bad idea for your parents to know that the dorms reek of marijuana. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Angie.
Bye.
Whoosh.